Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Henry. I'm here from the Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce for another one of our Business Bites sessions. Firstly, I'd just like to thank Not Another Marketing Agency, who are today's sponsors of Business Bites. If you have any questions throughout the session today, please can you make sure to put those into the group chat so we can answer those all for you at the end. And equally, if you've just joined, please may you rename yourself with your full name and then your company name. I am delighted to be joined by Dr. Wayne Wright today, who is going to be delivering a session on what 10 commandments of business growth are. So, without further ado, I will pass over to Wayne, and Wayne, feel free to take the reins.
Thank you, Henry. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, folks, for taking your time over lunch to come and spend this time with us. And I'm going to make it a little bit more interactive, so don't get comfortable, not too comfortable. Also, have a pen and paper with you, because ultimately, this is not just only a business bite bit, but I really want it to be something that you can take away and utilize into your business from today. This is not, how can I put it, one of these knowledge information thing. It's really an opportunity for you to really take that step back from your business, think about your business, think about the things that drive business growth. And I wish, hopefully, in this really, really short time, we can just stimulate some of that thinking. And then clearly there's some opportunities going forward where, you'd be able to interact with me or Henry a little bit later going forward as well. So, what are 10 commandments of business growth? Well, let me just take a little bit back in terms of what my background is and why I've sort of created a sort of title of that anyway. And I look after a small boutique organization called W Square Solutions. We're a small team of entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that, people who are able to start, grow, and exit businesses. So we understand the whole aspect of, moving a business forward. And that's really, really important as well. And excuse me. And the reason for creating some of the elements of understanding business growth, I speak to loads of business owners here, Europe, and in the US, and so we've done a lot of work with business leaders, understand some of the things that they are perplexed with, some of the things that they would want to really think about and focus on, and how to drive business growth as well. So we've got a little bit of a track record in helping companies to do that. And I think really that's really, really important. And on the back of that, also, what I've done, I've captured all of those learnings and some of the case studies from those clients and what good looks like, to be fair, and package them into this book called The 10 Commandments of Business Growth that you see here. So the presentation is going to be around that as well as we go through it today. So let's get down to business and get you moving, get you interactive in terms of what's going on. And I'm going to ask you a question first, and I'm going to use this question and your thinking in relation to the structure and the mood of what we're trying to achieve today as well. So my question to you is, what are the top 3 commandments that you believe are essential for driving business growth? Now, what I mean by that, you could be saying, we believe that staff is, great for business growth, or, or talent management, or whatever it is. And to be fair, they're not the top 3, so I'm not giving you any answers here. But I want you to think about what are those top 3 things are essential for driving business growth. And a little tip already, it's not about staff. Staff is there, but it's not the top 3. And also, not in the top 3 is finance. So go to the chat, put in your top 3. And before you do that, as an incentive, I'm also going to give away some copies of my book as well. So if some of you come up with any of the top 3, I'll send you a copy. So I've got 3 copies to give away. I'll send you a copy of the book as well. So in the chat, just put in what you believe is the top 3 things that businesses should consider and focus on in driving business growth. Go ahead, and Henry will pick out the winner. So what are those top 3 things? And think about your own business. What things are really important that helps business growth. Cool. Just give you another 15 seconds. Put your answers in. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right. So in top three, the top three that business leaders really appreciate, these are sort of key facet that drives business growth. First one's innovation. Who got that? The second one, customer focus or customer obsession, customer excellence, however you want to define it, that real forensic element of customers. And the final one, leadership. Really defines the best businesses from those are not those so great. Leadership, a key facet and tenet that businesses need to drive business growth. So, so Henry, I don't know if there's anybody, I mean, we can probably do it at the end anyway, but have a look at the chat and try to identify some people who will get the book, and we'll sort of read it at the very end. And I'll just keep going for the time being anyway. But let me just go through those 3 elements in my short time with you as well. And clearly there are others, and you know, and there may be 20. I understand that, but I'm talking about the 10, and in this case, the top 3 as well going forward as well. And the first one is innovation. And what I mean by that, some people, when they talk about innovation, they talk about patents and new shiny products and whatever it is. And I just want to really define innovation a little bit more broader in relation to that. What are the things that you can do that are focused on meeting the customer needs in your business? What things do you have to break? What things do you have to change differently so that you can satisfy the needs of your clients? And that's super important. That's where the whole message and then elements of business come through in relation to, you know, driving business growth. And I've shown you this little graphic that you see up on the screen here as well. And what we had, this, what I call this 5W model that we've created. And we always work with our clients to help them to understand the process, because invariably you've got to, at this very top end, reviewing why you exist. What is the customer pain? You've got to get to grips with why you are in business. Why should people buy from you? Why should people engage with you, with your products or services? You've got to really understand that, because if you don't understand that, then it's really, really difficult to do several things. First of all, to create the solutions to meet that pain, but also to identify your ideal clients. Because your clients are going to be in those 2 camps. They're going to have a pain that you need to solve, and at the same time, who are they? Where are they? So really understanding what you do and what makes you unique and what makes you different is super important. And going around clockwise, we talk about refining the value proposition. It's the only management fancy word you're going to hear from me today, folks. But what I mean by that is what allows you to define who you are compared to your competitors. What is the uniqueness of what you do? Kent Invicta Chamber, what is different and unique from them, from the institute directors, from the Federation of Small Businesses? What is it that defines them? Because if you're not able to articulate them, their members will just go from FSB to IOD to Kent Invicta Chamber, and will just keep on going because everybody does the same thing. What makes you different? What makes you unique? That allows you to be able to communicate that to your customers and to be able to define who you are and keep you ahead in the marketplace. So therefore, it's super important to understand yourself in terms of what you do differently. And that could be new services. It could be the way you communicate to your clients in relation to the sales process or the customer service process, which is different from your customers. It could be in the way that you make it simple for the client to do business with you by simple invoicing, clear invoicing, you know, returns elements when there's a problem, whatever it is. What is it that makes you different from everybody else in the marketplace, that meeting the needs of your customers? Because if they can understand that, then more importantly, they're going to stay with you going forward. And quickly going around, the final point, reviewing performance, you need to be able to measure whether you're still relevant. And I kid you not, folks, this is not just like a big business type element. Every business, every single business, if they don't measure whether they're relevant to customers, they will go bust. You think of Woolworths, you think of all the high street failures that we've had, you think of Nokia, you think of everybody that has lost sight of the customer and meeting the needs of the customers, they will go bust. And that's why it's super important to really get that understanding, a bit more forensic elements of what you do as an organization. What makes you different? What makes you unique going forward? So that's innovation. And please, innovation is not just about new products and shiny products and services. Is if you're doing something for your client and customer that they feel, it's a bit clunky, it'd be nice to really engage with you guys better, or your product is not as really slick as the competitors. Fix it. And have you got that agility in the organization to fix things? That's what I'm talking about in terms of innovation, that can-do attitude within your company. And is there anything graphic that you can take away from today? Please imprint this on your brain. Really do. It's super important. Those customers are focused and laser focused and anything obsessed in their organizations. Then it's super important that you understand this. And this is a graphic, a guy called Rob Yankee. He was from McKinsey, and he did a survey of about 10,000 businesses, and he came up with this element in terms of how businesses engage with their customers. And so the top little bar chart here, so the cost of retaining the current customer is 1 time. That's a no-brainer. You've got the clients already, you've got the business, you're doing some work with them. It's not costing you any more to engage and take the next order going forward. 1 time. Look at the next one. The middle one is about the cost of acquiring a new customer. And that's all the costs associated with the marketing piece, or the pay-per-click campaigns that you're doing, marketing, sales, teams that you may have, right? Everything that is geared to acquiring a new customer, that is a cost to getting that customer. But look at the bottom line one. What happens when you lose a customer? The cost of winning back that customer is 50 to 100 times. So what's the lesson here? They ain't gonna come back. And you know it from your own experience from businesses. If you screw up an issue and a customer, then it's really, really sometimes hard to win back their trust. And us Brits, we're notorious. When there's a screw up in a big, big way, we ain't coming back. We ain't come back at all. We don't just vote our feet. We don't even tell supplier that we've changed. We're done. And so what I'm trying to say is that the big lesson here, focus on keeping your clients. And we use the term of customer lifetime value. It's about having the customers for life, not just a one order, kick order time. That's a nonsense for growing your business. Create systems where you have customers coming and repeating orders time again, because that is the lifetime value that they are, so that you can get a good return on that 10 times that you've spent in acquiring them. You're getting that back return in terms of them buying products and services from you. So that's a real big tip for you to focus on: customer focus and customer retention going forward as well. And a little tip here with you, and I'll ask a question to you all. When's the last time you contacted your customers? When's the last time you engaged with those customers? Especially your top 10 customers. When was the last time you said hi, found out their needs, whatever it is? It comes back to that first graphic I showed you. If you don't understand their needs, and needs are changing rapidly, more rapidly than ever before. You can see my bald head. You can see that I've got the age to prove it, really. The needs of customers are changing every day. and you've got to be close to them. You've got to be able to engage with them so that they are able to say, oh, well, yeah, somebody's interested, somebody understands my needs. Because I kid you not, if you're not going to make that call, your competitors are going to make that call. So it's super important to engage with your customers on an ongoing basis, understand their needs, and be able in the organization to react accordingly to those needs that are changing on an ongoing basis. And the final one is about leadership. And what I mean by that is that ultimately, you know, leadership sometimes has been thrown about as you know, something that we will not naturally do. Oh, you maybe learn as a leader and whatever it is. Yes, you can be naturally born as a leader. You can learn as a leader as well. But I think it's really important to understand that skill. What are the attributes that really are important for growing an organization? And when you do stuff by yourself, and I've done it, and others have done it, you know, when we start our businesses by ourselves, we don't need to worry about that. But once we have teams, how do we ensure that those teams follow us on the journey? What are we displaying the attributes to allow you to be able to grow a team around you, to be able to identify opportunities for those people in those teams, talent management, succession planning? How do you motivate? How do you ensure performance is really on top notch? What are those things? And we've developed, you know, with other people, you know, tools that help people to understand their leadership capabilities. And this is an example of our 360 leadership review, which please happy for you to talk to me about. But it helps individuals to understand where they see themselves as a leader. And obviously some of the attributes of it, you can see in the graphic here, how do they manage people? How do they coach people? They're able to have vision, and more importantly, they're able to get things done. But that middle part as well, that self-awareness as a leader. In other words, what as a leader, what are your strengths as a leader? And it's something that you can take away as a question for you after this event. What are the strengths that you have as a leader? And the good thing about it is that, you know, focus on, well, how can I make those strengths better? Us Brits, we're glass half empty people. You know, we always look at the areas that we're not great at. But let's focus on the strengths bit. What are you good at, and how can you augment that to make the business really better? And the areas you're not so good at, and it's important to focus on that, of course. But the key thing is that you do two things. You either delegate out, or you raise your competency so it's okay. So for example, if finance is not your bag, then either have somebody to able to do that. However, I will suggest strongly raise your competency so that you understand the numbers. You may not know how it's derived, but you know what they mean. And you know that if the dial changes one or the other, you know that's really important. And super important to get your head around the numbers and how the numbers drive your business going forward as well. So a little tip there going forward as well. So hopefully that should give you a sort of a good element of leadership and attributes and the importance of leadership in growing businesses going forward. And as a final point, before I open for any questions, the key aspect that all three of them, if you probably notice, innovation, customer excellence or focus or obsession, and leadership, the three that aspect that they all have in common is that they create a culture in the organization, a culture that's focused on satisfying the customer's needs at any cost, doing the best they can. So the leadership are focusing about putting in the processes and systems to help their staff and what they do to be able to say, okay, let's continue to keep our eye on the customer, focus on the customer, meet the customer needs on an ongoing basis. Leadership does that. Customer focus, clearly, that's a culture in itself. From somebody who picks up the phone to even somebody in the finance team. How are you meeting the needs of customers going forward? And the final aspect, obviously, is innovation. What are you doing in your organization? Are you so stuffy that you can't change? You're not agile enough to do things differently. If that's you, then you need to rethink about the culture in the organization that, the computer says no all the time. If that's you, that's a big, big problem going forward. So they're the 3 ones. Clearly, there are plenty more. Plenty in the book on Amazon. It's on Kindle and Audible as well. But hopefully I just give you a flavor of some of the things that we've seen in helping our clients do really, really well in the Kent region. Clearly, obviously UK, but we've been done really well in Kent region going forward as well. So any questions? Henry?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Wayne. I thought that was a super engaging session. Clearly, by just the chat alone, we've had so many messages in there, lots of people partaking in the earlier competition. Before we get to people that put the correct answers in that, we do have a couple of questions already. Liz, I appreciate you asked a question earlier about leadership. I don't know whether Wayne then answered that with his section on leadership at all, but if you did want to unmute to ask, I just see you put in another question as well. So if you'd like to ask that one as well, Liz Scraff, feel free to, Scarf, feel free to unmute and ask away.
Hello there. Hi. Thank you for that. That was very
Hey, Liz.
So we want to run a film production company, so it'd be interesting to know what tips you would have for growing a service-led business. And one of the main issues that we have, so we work in 2 ways. So we do have returning clients that will come back to us and ask us to produce content.
When you say production company, Liz, are you talking about media?
Yeah, media. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, so film, video for social media, web, or TV.
Cool.
So we work in 2 ways. So we do have clients that come back to us, but also in the last 18 months, we've started responding more to public tenders, which is sort of going relatively well-ish. So we've done quite a few big contracts with the BBC and Death Row, etc.
Very good.
But the main issue that we find is that because we're creative, it's creative-led. And so very often we're building good relationships with people, but you have to pitch every time. And if they don't like that very specific idea,
cost of pitching is enormous. Yeah.
Cost of pitching is just killing us. So do you have any tips? You got
to do both. You got to do both, Liz, in that respect. I think normally when we coach, we normally get people to get to the answer themselves. I'm conscious that we're in a different environment, but something to think about. You always understand where your money's coming from and what's going to push cash flow. All right. So in other words, clearly the tenders, they're great in terms of volume. They can sometimes be a bit icky on cash flow, but also in time management time because of the pitch element, and you're losing a lot of work. So you got that process over that piece of business, separate that business and define it. Then over here, separate the business in relation to the private aspect. You got a lot more control. You're able to then to articulate the vision of the because and I know I've got friends who are in do the same thing in terms of, but they do more short children's programs for the BBC and Channel 4 and that type of stuff. Same issue. But they're solely around that, and the pitching is killing them. Right, because you can appreciate doing a big animation spill means a whole load of investment or whatever it is. So you've got to define the business that you can't have the situation where this part of the business is killing this, which is basically fueling your other business. So really, really be careful about where you're focusing your energies and your time as well going forward. And I think clearly, obviously, as you develop this business,
thank you.
Hopefully your relationships would improve.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Liz?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. I see we also had a question a little bit earlier in the session from Melanie Pointer regarding contacting clients. Melanie, would you like to unmute to ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, there's this thing about contacting people and keeping them warm and all this sort of thing. I think in this day and age, it's a very difficult balance between doing that and annoying people and getting unsubscribes and just being a pest. So how do you suggest reaching a balance between regular enough? I mean, I know it's about relevant content as well, but you know, what's a sort of good frequency?
I think that it really depends on the individual. One thing that you maybe want to think about, depending on your client base, and I appreciate some of them maybe of the, not I'll call social media ilk, but generally we have people in the physio side who are creating Facebook narratives and help to their clients. So they create a little Facebook group, and on the back of that, then they would put in some examples of, you know, how to improve your knee, your knee that's really painful at the moment, or if you want to get hip mobility, what the exercise that can help you around hip mobility, that sort of stuff, and give them examples. And then you may want to then link that back to either a WhatsApp group that you may want to create, that, you know, again, it's an opportunity for people to do that, or through the email blast as well. But again, it's always about giving people their needs at that moment in time. I don't think people are, they're not, especially if they've signed up to you, they're not avert to not hearing from you. What they avert to is spam about, oh, look at our wonderful business. They want to have things that are solving some of their issues. I've got back pain. How do I get rid of back pain very quickly? I've got, you know, I've just come back from a knee operation or a big surgery operation. What can I do effectively? What are the exercises? And if you show them, you give them away stuff that they can do, they're more likely to engage with you and appreciate what you do, because you're looking at their needs. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Melanie. A really interesting point there from Wayne as well, actually, about just sort of adding value. I think that's super important. I'm sure Wayne will attest to that as well. And then one final one before I go through the little competition earlier. Claire Clifford from GB Commercial Solutions. You raised a really interesting point in the chat regarding your client care strategy. I was wondering if you'd be able to raise that again with Wayne and see his thoughts on it as well, because I think it could make for quite an interesting little discussion towards the end. Sorry, Claire, were you wanting to unmute to raise that? You are still here. Were you wanting to unmute to raise that? If not, I'll raise the question. No. So Claire put in the chat earlier, on the back of kind of a similar conversation we just had there regarding contacting your clients. So they're implementing a client care review and CRM strategy to manage this process. Wayne, I was just wondering if you had any points on that or any opinions regarding it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the businesses here have probably staff between 1 and 20 people as well. So, you know, you're not going to be engaged with having the sort of Salesforce type activity, CRM system, whatever it is. And so please, you know, just you know, create an Excel spreadsheet of your key clients or whatever it is, and, you know, just put a couple of columns that, you know, at least keeps you a track of when you contact them, their needs, etc. It doesn't have to be complex. And I think, you know, and obviously there's good packages out there that allows you to do that, from Zoho through to Monday.com, whatever it is. But the point I'm trying to make is just start engaging. You don't need fancy systems, just start engaging. And that's super important, because, you know, I don't know if I've said this before, but customers want to hear from you. They may not engage with you, but they want to hear from you. So let me say that again. They may not want to engage with you, but they want to hear from you. And think about it. When the pandemic happened, what happened? Everybody advertising hit the floor. Who was it that was advertising? All the big companies. Why? Because it was on top of mind. So when everybody came out of COVID and the pandemic or the banking crisis or whatever it is, who are they remembering? The big corporates. They know it works. You've got to be in top of mind of your customers. If you're not, somebody else is going to fill that void. So it's super important to just start. Just keep it going. Make it simple. And if you want to develop that and build it on and do a good, you know, care plan and care strategy and processes around that using really good CRMs, fantastic. You know, that is important. But at the start, just engage.
Perfect. Thank you, Wayne. I think that was a really, really interesting point to raise, at least. And obviously, Wayne has asked at the beginning of the session for you to put what you've believed your top 3 commandments to be in the chat. Now, we did have a couple of people who I think were pretty close to getting those spot on with a couple of the ones that Wayne mentioned. The first being Michaela Page, who mentioned an understanding of your customer, which I think is a direct
Yep.
influence within your customer focus. So, well, Michaela, I saw you bugged out earlier, but I think you joined back now. So thank you for that. And finally, Owen Williams. Also put in an interesting point about the clarity of offerings and what positive outcomes they provide customers. So I think both of those, quite
Yeah,
customer
cool.
related and oriented, are quite good answers to that question. So at the end of the session, I'll drop you both an email so I can get your contact details to send to Wayne to send you both a copy of his book, which he's generously offered to give away. So I make that to be 1:30. So thank you all ever so much for joining. It's been a really engaging session, Wayne. Thank you so much as well for hosting with us today. And
Yep. And as a
yeah,
final
I
thing,
think
again, for everybody on the call, happy to have and carry on the conversation. It's free. It's not going to cost you any money. And, you know, it may help you move forward as well. So please reach out. I'm also on LinkedIn under Dr. Wayne Wright. I post stuff daily, all stuff to do about growing your business. So again, all free stuff that we just send out as well. So please, you know, there's so much resources out there, probably too much to be fair. But you know, there's a lot of resources out there. Screenshot what you see on the screen. There's a Calendly link there at the bottom, which allows you to book a slot that works for you. Would love to talk to you, love to engage and go from there. So thank you, Henry, again. Thank you, folks. I really appreciate your time today.
thank you very much. And just a final shout out, obviously mentioned it at the beginning of the session, but today's session was sponsored by Not Another Marketing Agency. So big shout out to them. And finally, thank you all for coming and being so engaging today. It's been a brilliant session. And yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.